The sky has always held secrets. For centuries it has loomed above, vast, silent, unchanging. Yet again and again things appear where nothing should be. Lights that don't blink, shapes that don't drift, movements that don't obey the rules of gravity or sound. They come without warning, they vanish without trace, and they leave behind only one question: what was that? Across time zones and borders, the sightings have multiplied. Glowing orbs, metallic crafts, shadows that hover, spin, and disappear. Some too fast to follow, others too still to ignore. Most are dismissed, but some are captured by lens, by chance, by those who simply looked up. These are the moments that challenge logic, moments where reality bends just for a second, moments that remain unexplained, and now those moments return, clearer, closer, too precise to be human. It starts with a quiet road, a man parked alone in his car, and something appearing in the distance. In the quiet countryside of Warminster, England, a man sat alone in his parked car near an empty field. The air was still, the horizon calm. Then something unusual caught his attention. Two glowing orbs hovered above the trees, drifting in perfect unison through the pale afternoon sky. At first glance, they resembled helicopters, until a closer look revealed the truth. The objects had no rotors, no blinking lights, no sound. They were smooth, brilliant spheres of light, moving with an elegance that felt calculated. He lifted his phone and began to record. As the orbs passed behind a hill, they vanished, not slowly, not in stages, but all at once, as if slipping through a curtain of space. Then, within seconds, they returned, but not as two, as five. The five orbs formed a perfect pattern in the sky, performing synchronized maneuvers like aircraft at an invisible air show. They rotated, separated, and regrouped in flawless timing, with no turbulence, no drift, only precision. Experts later reviewed the footage. No drones, no lens flares, no signs of manipulation. The possibility emerged: had the original two orbs multiplied, or had others simply decloaked? One theory suggested an advanced camouflage field, rendering some of the orbs invisible until needed. Another, more speculative idea described the lights as biological entities, plasma-based life forms, perhaps not machines at all. A similar event occurred in Russia, where a man recorded orbs forming an infinity pattern in the night sky. The lights swirled silently, changing color and intensity as if responding to something unseen. In both cases, the sky offered no answers. The movements were not random, they were deliberate. Some researchers argued that these orbs displayed signs of collective intelligence, a swarm mind, or something more. But one thing remained certain: they were not falling stars, they were not weather balloons, they were not ours. And whatever their origin, they had chosen to be seen, not chased, not intercepted, witnessed. In November 2018, flames consumed Southern California. The Woolsey fire roared through hillsides, destroying homes, forests, and lives. Nearly 100,000 acres turned to ash beneath a choking sky. As helicopters dropped water and reporters broadcast live images of the destruction, an unexpected presence appeared. A cigar-shaped object, metallic and massive, hovered above the inferno. It moved slowly, deliberately, cutting across the smoke-choked sky. It made no sound, it cast no shadow, it bore no markings, and yet it was clearly not part of the disaster response. Multiple news cameras captured the object from different angles. The shape remained consistent, long, smooth, silver-gray, gliding in complete silence. Analysts found no evidence of rotors, engines, or wings. The object was not falling, it was not drifting, it was observing. Speculation ignited. Was this advanced surveillance tech, a secret military drone, or was this a visitor? Some believed the craft was conducting aerial reconnaissance, perhaps gathering data on environmental collapse, or something more hidden within the fire zone. Others proposed a more haunting idea: an extraterrestrial rescue vessel watching helplessly or intervening subtly. Witnesses described an overwhelming sense of being watched, not by malice but by something curious, something distant. This was not the first cigar-shaped UFO ever recorded. Identical crafts had been seen hovering above Arizona, Mexico, and the Siberian tundra. Each sighting came during a moment of chaos, earthquakes, floods, or war. Their presence was always the same, silent, motionless, and gone without warning. The footage from California remains one of the clearest to date. The object, perfectly visible against the burning backdrop, defied every known rule of flight. There was no heat distortion, no sonic boom, no exhaust, and then, without turning, without accelerating, it vanished into the clouds. One frame it was there. The next it wasn't, as if it had folded itself into another layer of reality. And in the silence that followed, only the fire remained. In 2017, over the skies of Plymouth, Wisconsin, a storm rolled in, gray clouds swelling, thunder rumbling in the distance. A local drone enthusiast launched his quadcopter to capture footage of the incoming weather. The sea then it happened a white orb, small streaked acros in the blink, but no aircraft known to man could move like that. No bird, no bug, not even a military jet. The orb traveled across the entire sky in less than a second. No sound, no trail, just movement that mocked gravity itself. The footage was analyzed by experts in video compression, drone optics, and aviation. The result unexplained. Elsewhere, similar orbs had been seen, silent, glowing, and lightning fast. In August 2023, a security camera in Chattanooga, Tennessee, captured a star-like object gliding calmly across the night sky. But halfway through its path, the object paused, mid-motion, and then instantly shot upward, disappearing beyond the frame. The entire maneuver took less than a second. Civilians reviewing the video noted the eerie stillness before the acceleration, as if the orb was thinking, deciding, calculating. In New York, along the Brooklyn Promenade in 2021, a man witnessed 3 orbs suspended in a perfect triangle formation above the skyline. They hovered with unnatural stillness, equidistant from one another. When he pointed his phone camera toward them, something extraordinary occurred. One orb suddenly broke formation, zipped horizontally to the right, and vanished with a speed that rivaled ballistic missiles. He stood frozen, his phone trembling in his hand. Each of these incidents, captured from different parts of the world, shared one unmistakable trait: speed without propulsion. Movement without momentum, acceleration without inertia. This kind of speed should tear metal apart. It should create a sonic boom. But these orbs glided as if they existed slightly outside the rules of this world. Some physicists speculated they weren't flying at all. They were slipping between dimensions, moving through space-time the way fish move through water. If that were true, then these were not just crafts. They were technological miracles, or perhaps biological ones. What kind of intelligence creates something that can think, move, and vanish faster than the eye can follow? And if such intelligence exists, why does it keep returning to Earth? The drone pilot in Wisconsin never flew again. He kept the footage locked away for months before releasing it. Not because he feared ridicule, but because in that flash of white light he realized something is out there, and it moves faster than fear. Jerusalem, 2011. Over the ancient dome of the Rock, one of the holiest sites in the world, a bright orb hovered in complete silence. Pilgrims stood in awe as the glowing sphere floated above the golden dome, still steady, as if staring down at the sacred ground. Then, in an instant, it shot upward, leaving behind only a lingering pulse of light. Multiple people caught the event on camera. The footage showed the orb moving unnaturally fast, vanishing into the heavens without a sound. This was not the only time a UFO appeared above a site of great spiritual power. In Moscow, just above the Kremlin, witnesses reported a giant pyramid-shaped craft slowly rotating in the sky. It was enormous, some said the size of a city block, hovering silently above the heart of Russia's political and historical power. The government offered no explanation. The police refused to comment. The object eventually vanished without a trace. Thousands of miles away in Washington, D.C., a nearly identical pyramid was seen hovering over the Pentagon. Footage showed the massive triangular shadow drifting silently in the night, almost invisible to the naked eye, except when it shifted and caught the light. Once again, no aircraft was detected. No airspace alert was issued. No answers were given. Why do these objects appear above symbols of power, sacred places, government buildings, military bases? Are they watching, measuring, waiting? Some believe these crafts are scanning Earth's energy grids, appearing where human belief, history, and influence converge. Others suggest they are drawn to emotion, to collective consciousness, where fear, hope, and faith are strongest. And then there is the theory most refuse to voice, that these places are not just significant to humans, but also to them. In 2022, over Area 51, white orbs were spotted darting above the restricted zone. They moved too fast to track and too silent to hear. A commercial flight passing overhead reported strange interference. No military aircraft were dispatched. No statements were issued. But satellite footage showed something else, a metallic object descending from the clouds, then vanishing into the desert. That same year in China, multiple witnesses saw a cross-shaped UFO above a temple during a lightning storm. Despite the rain, the object glowed. No thunder shook it. It remained still, then blinked out of existence as if it had never been there. Sacred ground, sacred silence, unexplained presence. Across time, humans have built temples, mosques, and fortresses to reach the divine, to connect with something greater. But what if now that something greater is reaching back? And what if it's not what humanity expected? The lights above these sacred places were not just passing by, they chose to stop, to linger, to observe, and they left behind no trace, only questions. In July 2019, off the coast of San Diego, multiple U.S. Navy warships conducted routine training missions in open waters. But what unfolded that night was anything but routine. The crew aboard the USS Omaha detected a series of unknown contacts on radar. At first, they assumed it was a glitch, until the visual confirmation came. Above the waves, spherical glowing objects, self-illuminated and completely silent, began to appear. One orb hovered beside the ship, no larger than 6 feet in diameter, floating as if gravity no longer applied. Then came another, then more, 14 in total, swarming the ships like silent observers in the dark. They weren't attacking, they weren't fleeing, they were circling. The objects moved effortlessly in the sky above the waterline, sometimes diving below the surface, and then re-emerging moments later, dripping and glowing like they belonged to both sea and sky. Thermal imaging captured one orb descending into the ocean without a splash. It did not slow down, it did not sink, it simply vanished. The Navy classified the footage, but parts of it were later leaked, sparking global curiosity and official silence. These weren't the only military encounters. In 2004, 2 U.S. Navy pilots flying F/A-18 Super Hornets were scrambled to intercept a tic-tac-shaped object off the coast of California. It hovered above the ocean, darted away, and then reappeared miles away within seconds. No propulsion, no wings, no heat signature. Commander David Fravor, one of the pilots, later said, "It accelerated like nothing I've ever seen. It was like it knew we were coming." The radar operators confirmed his story. Even the Pentagon couldn't deny it. Then came the incident over Puerto Rico in 2013. A military drone captured infrared footage of a UFO flying at incredible speed over the airport. The object flew into the ocean, split into 2 separate bodies, then rejoined before vanishing into the waves. Multiple experts reviewed the footage. No plausible explanation was found. Some suggested secret technology. Others whispered of surveillance probes, but none could deny what they saw. And then there was Baghdad 2022. A U.S. Air Force Reaper drone captured a skinny, cylindrical object nicknamed the Baghdad Phantom. It moved at high altitude, unaffected by wind, and emitted no heat. Military analysts reviewed the video frame by frame. It wasn't a missile. It wasn't a bird. It wasn't anything known. Some in command believed these were reconnaissance crafts, observing not just civilians, but the most powerful armies on Earth. And they weren't hiding, they came close. They allowed themselves to be seen. And then they left faster than any jet, quieter than any submarine. What message were they sending? If these were warnings, they came without words. If they were greetings, they offered no reply. Only presence, only mystery. And the knowledge that even the world's greatest military might is still looking up, wondering. The ocean has always hidden secrets. But in recent years, it's not just the depths that baffle scientists. It's what comes from the sky and then vanishes beneath the waves. In Puerto Rico, April 2013, military surveillance captured something impossible. A thermal drone scanning the skies above Aguadilla Airport recorded a glowing object approaching at high speed. It dipped low, skimmed the treetops, then made a sharp turn toward the sea. What came next defied belief. The object plunged into the ocean without slowing down, no splash, no ripple, just gone. Moments later it resurfaced, now as two separate orbs flying in perfect synchronization. They hovered briefly, then re-entered the water and vanished completely. The footage was verified, analyzed, debated, but even aerospace engineers admitted, we don't have anything that can do that. Elsewhere in the world, similar sightings echoed the same pattern. In 2020, Papua New Guinea residents filmed what appeared to be a military helicopter chasing an orb. The object hovered above the coastline, then suddenly dove into the sea, followed moments later by a rippling distortion in the water, as if something massive had just submerged. But no wreckage was ever found. No radar picked it up. It was like chasing a shadow into another world. In Baghdad, 2022, 6 classified infrared images showed a cylinder-shaped object flying above the desert, then suddenly vanishing into the ground, as if phasing through matter itself. When examined closely, analysts discovered thermal imprints suggesting the object didn't just disappear, it transitioned. Into what or where? No one could say. But perhaps the most chilling underwater encounter occurred just miles off the coast of California, near the USS Omaha, the same ship surrounded by glowing orbs in the air. That night, one of the orbs broke away from the group and slowly descended toward the water. The ship's instruments tracked it closely. The crew braced for impact, but instead of crashing, the orb entered the water like a raindrop without sound or splash. Divers were never dispatched. There was nothing to recover. It was gone into the black. Some now use a different term for these visitors. USO, unidentified submerged objects. Are these ships hiding beneath our oceans? Are there alien bases at the bottom of the sea, safe from satellites, radars, and human curiosity? One theory suggests the ocean is a dimensional veil, a border between our world and theirs. If true, then they're not just flying through our skies, they are moving between worlds. And Earth's oceans, they're not just water, they are gateways that we've only just begun to notice. The ocean swallowed the last of the glowing orbs. No splash, no trace, no answers. And as the waves closed above them, the silence returned, not peaceful but watchful. For years, humanity looked to the skies for signs of other life. But perhaps the truth has always been closer than expected, not above but below. Crafts that move without resistance. Lights that vanish into pressure zones where no submarine dares to dive. Objects that seem to operate outside the rules of physics, or inside rules not yet known. If these visitors can fly through storms, dodge jets, and dive into the sea without notice, then what else can they do? Where do they come from? Why are they here? And most of all, why now? Perhaps the most unsettling thought is this: they are not hiding anymore. They are appearing again and again in broader daylight above cities, beside aircraft under the ocean. If they are showing themselves more clearly, what are they trying to say? Or what are they preparing for? If these questions linger long after the lights fade, stay curious. Like this video, if the unknown still sparks something in the back of the mind. Share a thought in the comments, whether it's a theory, a sighting, or a question no one dares to ask. And subscribe for more encounters that science cannot yet explain. because one day the cameras might not be pointed fast enough, and what was once a light in the sky might be something standing right in front of us.